good day to you. I hope that you are doing well on this wonderful Wednesday. I know I'm supposed to release every Monday. I'll explain why I'm a couple of days late this week as we get into the episode. Speaking of episodes, this is number 9. And I thought it would be all about family. You know, that's an important aspect of our lives, family. So let's discuss how we have a direct effect on our family dynamics. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Love is Your Medicine podcast. I am Mitch Wright, back again. Like I said, usually I try to do my podcast updates on Monday morning. I am just getting over COVID. So I was out for several days. Last Tuesday, I got this cough. And if you remember, on episode 8, a couple of times, I just kept getting this tickle in my throat. And it progressively got worse. That night I was coughing very bad. Last Wednesday, just feeling drained. Coughing is worse. A lot of nasal congestion. So Thursday morning rolled around and I was like, you know what, I'm going to test. So I did a COVID test at home. Came back negative. And I'm just still feeling terrible. And Friday morning, wake up, take another COVID test, and it was positive. So dealt with that all weekend and had a lot of time to reflect and sleep. Oh my goodness, it put me on my butt. I had COVID last year, but this year was definitely worse. So I do not recommend it to anyone. If you're in a big crowd, sanitize what you're touching. You know, we go to the grocery store and Costco a lot. I try to sanitize my hands. And now, depending on where I'm at, I'm probably going to pull out a mask again. So that's just me. Better safe than sorry. And I tell you what, this strand of COVID, I did not like. It was a lot worse than when I had it last year. So that is why this week I am a couple of days late with episode 9. I hope you forgive me. But as I was thinking about what to speak on this week, I kind of jokingly said it to our daughter. You know, I need to think about something I want to talk about this week on my podcast. And she jokingly said, talk about me. And, you know, I laughed at the time, but the more I thought about it as I was doing some more errands, I was like, yeah, that's a good idea to talk about family, because in my first couple of episodes, I kind of spoke on my family, my upbringing, and then bits and pieces about my family dynamic now, being married. And so, yeah, I thought, why not talk about family? We all have family. Some we're close to, some we may not be close to. But then, and I'm talking about relatives. But then we have our immediate families, you know, whether that's siblings, our parents, our children, your spouse. You know, maybe you're married or in a relationship. Maybe y'all have children, maybe you don't, but I'm talking about immediate family. And, a lot of times just being human, we're quick to blame others. That's just kind of something that we fall on, just being humans and the imperfect creatures that we are. But more times than not, we really have to take a deep look into ourselves and think about, could we be a major contributing factor in whatever family dynamic there is? So, as I mentioned in the first couple of episodes, this is my second marriage. I was married before, and what I put my first wife and our son through, it was just horrible. I took in a lot of baggage into that relationship. I got in that relationship too fast. As I look back now, and I'm older, about to turn 54, I have all this knowledge and wisdom and experience. I'm a lot different now at 54 than I was at 22 and 23. So I got married my first time at the age of 23. And so I had a lot of emotional baggage that I carried into that relationship. And so what about you? Do you have, if you're single, do you have emotional baggage that you haven't fully gotten through yet? Like I said, I'm never going to tell anyone what to do. Each person is different. Your circumstances are different from mine. Your personality is different from mine. But I know for me personally, I had a lot of baggage going into my first marriage. And I wasn't addressing it. I was a totally different person. So I had this very macho attitude. Whatever needed to be fixed, I would do it. And I would do it by myself. I would do it alone. I didn't need or want anyone's help. So totally different outlook on life than I have now. And so because of that attitude, I suffered. And because I wasn't addressing my emotional baggage of things that had happened to me when I was young and things that happened as I grew up, some of the things that I mentioned in episode 8, just different things in different ages of my life, because I didn't handle all of that and kept it bottled in. I suffered emotionally. I kept a lot in, internalized it, and then it would just come to a head like a volcano and erupt at different points. And so whoever was around me, they caught that eruption. And it sometimes it wasn't pretty. I'm not proud of things that I did or said, but we look at the past mistakes and we learn from them, see how we can be better, and we move on. So I remember it so that I can remember how I got to those different points, but then I don't dwell on it. We constantly have to move forward. And so, when you carry a lot of emotional baggage with you, it's not fair to those around you. Number one is your family. And so, we don't want to be a drain on our family. We don't want to be someone where they're walking on eggshells or they don't want to be around us. we come in and the whole mood in the room drops because we're there. We don't want to be that person. And so, we take care of ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically, so that we can be the best version of ourselves that we can be. And so, thinking back on some of the mistakes I made, I wasn't a good communicator. And this carried on too in my second marriage. So I had to learn how to be vocal, but be vocal in a loving and kind way. I've never been one that likes to argue or get into like these verbal fights with my spouse. But, it's still things that you can do that's negative. No communication or short answers or harshness in your tone. Different things like that I had to learn how to work through. If I'm having a bad emotional day, then I might, I would snap at my spouse or snap at one of the children. And I'll never forget, I said something to my son, and this is when we were in my second marriage, and all the kids that we had 4 altogether, 3 boys, and then our princess. And so never forget the look on my son's face, because he asked me something, and the way I answered him and what I said, he looked at me and I could tell the pain in his eyes. He looked at me, he looked just heartbroken, and he just lowered his head and kept doing what he was doing. And that was one of the moments, and I even told Michelle, I got kind of emotional a day or two later. And she didn't know what was wrong, and I told her how I felt in that moment. And I could just tell by the look he gave me the type of person I was. Just saying things that would hurt people. And I asked her, I said, please help me to get better. I know I have to do a lot of things on my own, to fix myself, but we're partners. Help me to be a better person. Hold me accountable. If I say something that's rude or, just offhanded or snappy to you or the kids, hold me accountable. Like, don't be afraid to just tell me. And so that's what she would do. And we helped each other with that. One of the good things about having a good marriage mate and a good partner is you can hold one another accountable. And so, fortunately for us, if one is having an off day or a bad day emotionally, because Michelle had things she had to overcome as well emotionally from her past. So if one of us was having an off day or a bad day, it always seems like the other one is up and having a good day. And so we've always used that to our advantage. So if one is down or, just having an off day, don't know why, the other will speak up and ask what's wrong. What can we talk about? Do you want to discuss something? If something came up that bothered you currently, or did something pop in your head from the past? And so we try to do that. We try to work it out with each other and hold each other accountable. So, by all means, do not try to do this alone. Have the modesty and, to just admit your limitations and to admit to yourself you can't fix everything on your own. You're a team, you and your spouse. So work together, hold each other accountable. And that helped me a lot. Because if I was having a bad day, or she could tell that I was, or I give a short answer to her or to one of the kids, she would just kindly pull me aside and, try to find out what's going on. And that kind of snapped me out of it, out of being a jerk. I appreciate that about her, and she still has to do it for me. I do it for her. And yeah, we just talk it out. Like I said, none of us are perfect. If what I'm talking about seems familiar to you, believe me, I'm not shaming you. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm telling you what I go through personally and what I work on. And that's part of loving ourselves. It's being honest with ourselves to see how we can fix ourselves. So do not feel bad if some of the things I talk about hit home or seem familiar to you. So yeah, the whole family dynamic, we can do a lot to help our family flourish if we're working on ourselves first as an individual. Because, if we aren't working on ourselves constantly, then, we can't truly expect that of our spouse or our children, can we? How can I be a horrible person but try to teach my children how to be good young adults and to raise them to be positive members of the community? How can I do that if I'm not doing it myself? So, children are like sponges. They soak up everything, and they may not say it verbally, but believe me, they're watching. Your children watch you, and they learn from you, whether it's a good example or a bad example. Our children are learning constantly, daily. So, we do it for ourselves, and we do it so that, if you have children, one, they see that you're human, and they see that you face adversity and you don't shrink away from it, but they'll be like, you know what, Dad or Mom, even though things might not have went perfectly in their past, or even though they face adversity now, they always find a way to rebound. They always find a way to face it head on, and they get through it. See, this shows your children a lot about life. Because nowadays, and Michelle and I, we talk about this a lot, children, they're very different than when we came up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's like now, because of what children have, the internet, cell phones, the games they play, everything is about fast self-gratification. They're used to things instantly. But that's not how life works. And the older they get, they gradually find that out. Things pop up in life where it may be some time before you can fix it or adjust things. That's just life. And so we have to teach our children that, that things that come up that aren't ideal or just come up out of the blue that we have to face. We have to show them that we can face it head on, and that you get a handle on things and you work progressively towards making them better. And so when they see you doing that as a parent, they pick up on that. That's one of the good examples that they can pick up on from mom or dad. And you just take it day by day. like I'm always saying in different episodes, just take it day by day. That's what we have to do, the work on ourselves. We don't know what the next day is going to bring. And we can't fix what's already happened yesterday. So what do? We work on the day we are currently on, being the best individual we can be and working to get better at whatever you need to in life. So yeah, I had to really work on myself to get to the point I'm at now, mentally and emotionally, because I wanted to be just a better person overall. I wanted to do it for Michelle, my wife, and I wanted to do it for our children. And, how we conduct ourselves, excuse me, it carries over into how we treat our families. And, think about this. When you have children, there's no one size fits all. Each child that you have is a mini adult. They're their own individual. So we can't just, we have 3 boys and a girl. And so what I quickly found out is that they each had their own identity and personality, their own set of emotions. So, if we're talking or disciplining one, we couldn't do it like we may talk or discipline their sibling. Each one had their own personality. So I could talk a certain way, and I'm not talking like mean or harsh, but, when you're trying to get your point across and teach them and make them better in something, you have your way that you can talk to that individual child. So yeah, it's like my son, he knew me in a different life is what I call it, because I was a totally different person when he was young, when I lived in Atlanta. So without being harsh or mean, I could still talk to him in a different manner than I could talk to the other 2 boys. With them, I had to reason more, kind of talk it out with them, because they're just 2 different personalities. And, I could still get my point across, but I just had to do it differently with them. And then here comes our princess, and I said something to her one day that was, like I said, not mean, but just direct on something she needed to do around the house. And all of a sudden these tears come. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, why are you crying? And like, she could barely talk, and asked her to, just go to her room to calm down. And, we'll talk again when you're calm. And I look at Michelle and I'm like, what in the world? Like, did I say anything wrong? I didn't think I was mean. And, Michelle looked at me and she was like, you have to remember that she's a girl. She's a female. So she's going to be a little bit more emotional. And it's like, I was a stay-at-home dad when she was an infant and a toddler. And, just a young girl in preschool. And so we used to like roughhouse and kind of tussle. I always told Michelle I did not want her growing up to be a punk. I wanted her to be a girl and enjoy being a girl. But I wasn't going to raise a girl that like got bullied from guys. And so, I just made her my little tough little mini-me. And so Michelle had to remind me, she's like, I know, like, that's your tough little girl and everything, but you have to remember that's exactly what she is, a girl. And so I took that to heart. Thanked Michelle for telling me. And from that point on, the way that we talk to her and help her and reason with her is a lot different, totally different than we did with the other three boys. And so it's all about learning, adapting, fixing what needs to be fixed. And I can't stress this enough. If you aren't at a good place within yourself, it's hard to do that. It's hard to really realize what you need to do, what you need to fix with your family. Because you're always on the defensive and, like I said, the ticking time bomb syndrome really is what I called it, my previous lifestyle. And so, that I said all that to say that point is that if you aren't whole as a person, and I'm not talking about perfect, but just if you aren't in a good space, physically, mentally, emotionally, you're not thinking rationally. So you might project all the negativity within you onto your spouse or your significant other or your child. And it's just not a great feeling when you do that. Because if you have any type of conscience at all, you realize it when you have time to think about it. You know what you've done. You know what you've said. You know if you hurt those that you love. And we really, really have to take care of our families, especially our children. I watch so many videos on YouTube and I read news articles just about things, horrific things that our young ones do. And sadly, like one of the main reasons is because their home life isn't ideal. They may be living in a single parent home. They may have both parents at home, but the parents are dealing with their own issues and they're kind of leaving their children to self-parent. And that part of it hit close to home to us with our family last year. Sadly, had some tragic events happen, with some relatives, and home life wasn't ideal for the children. And it was sad. And it's sad seeing so many of our young ones and youths lost and mixed up. And it starts at home. It starts with us as parents. Even if you aren't, say you're divorced and you're co-parenting, that does not excuse you from being the best parent you can be. Whether you're the custodial parent or the non-custodial parent, you share custody. It's still both parents' responsibility to raise that child the best they can and to be the best person, the best parent that they can be for that child. Children need that emotional and mental support. The financial support is all well and good. It's needed, don't shirk that responsibility, but children really need emotional and mental support so that they can grow up how they need to grow up. A lot of our young ones, they act out because they don't have ideal home lives. For whatever reason, and they either seek attention or they seek the wrong crowd or quote unquote love from other individuals or other groups that are not the best for them to be around. And it falls on us. It's our responsibility as parents to be the best parents that we can be, to be the best versions of ourselves that we can be, to give our children a fair chance in life, to give them a fair shot in becoming great young adults and great adults on their own that will be productive members of society. And one day they may or may not have a family of their own. And so, it starts with us. We can't just throw blame on, they just act up, or I never get along with my spouse. I never get along with my children. I urge you, like I had to do, just take a long, honest look at yourself. See if there's anything that you need to fix about you. And don't be so quick to cast blame and, come together with your family, because family is very important. You should have each other's back in a crazy world that we live in. And that's what we always tell our children. Family should be the safe zone. Family should be a place where there's love and care, open communication. I would always tell them, don't feel bad to talk to us if you're having problems, or you're going through something that you think in your head is just, you can't deal with it, you can't cope with it. Like, come to us. I always wanted them to know that family it should be a non-judgment zone. Our spouse or our young ones should feel like they can have open, honest conversation with us, where they're not going to be judged, but instead they're going to be nurtured, loved, cared for. They're going to be heard. If it's something that's not good or something that needs to be fixed, our family should feel like they can talk to us, and we won't shame them. We won't judge them. We'll be honest. And if there's something that needs to be fixed, of course, we handle that. But, the family should be a safe zone. In a world full of chaos, that should be where we can go to truly be ourselves, to be open, be honest. Family is important. Family is the basis of civilization. We have individuals, but then, groups of individuals make families. Families make the population. So, we have to treat our family good. The other side of it is, we may lose family members, sickness, death. I have a couple members of my immediate family, one battling cancer, one going through things that older ones may unfortunately go through at times with dementia and things like that. So, don't take family and life for granted. We never know what's going to happen from day to day, and we want to be on good terms with our family. You don't want to let someone pass away and you maybe, you feel bad because you maybe didn't express your love to them when they were around as much as you should have. And, I'm guilty of that. The way I dealt my old self, the way I dealt with, loss. Because if you remember in episodes 1 and 2, part of my personality was I had to fix or adjust things in me so that I would not get hurt. And so part of that, immaturely was I would think, if I'm not real close to this person or that person, then if something happens, I won't be as hurt. Sadly, that was my outlook, but the older I got, the more I realized that was faulty reasoning on my part. I should have been keeping good communication and good relationships with some of my family or relatives. Because when they were gone, it was too late. They didn't know what I felt. They didn't know, my love for them. So now I try to, and I stay busy between family and business and everything. Constantly busy daily, but I try to make time. Like if I can't call, I try to shoot family members a text or, try to constantly stay up to date with them. I used to just go quiet for long periods of time. And again, I'm not saying I'm perfect. There's still a lot of things I need to work on, being, improving some of my communication with some of my family, to maybe talk on the phone more. Because like I said, I'm going to be 54. None of us are getting younger. So not knowing what will happen from day to day, there are things that I need to do better still with communication, with certain family members. And so, that's part of what we need to do as individuals too. Take a look at ourselves and see, are there different ways we can improve? I talked about emotionally and mentally, but then there's things that we do also, and this is one of them, like communication and expressing your love for your family members. Do you say it? When I was young, it was weird to me to show affection because of what I went through. I had trust issues. And so, I didn't want to like hugging and all that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want nobody touching me. And that's just what I went through. And, if you're new to the podcast, you can go back to episode 3 and I talk about it. Like what happened to me at a young age. So showing affection, I didn't want to do that. And so that carried over into my teen years, into my young adult years. And then it affected how, what I said to people. If I loved them, and which I did. I loved my family, I loved my relatives, but I didn't say it as much as I should have. And so that was something else I had to fix within myself. To be more affectionate, to tell people. Not only, you could tell people you love them, all you want, but then what do your actions say? So I had to not only say it, but I had to adjust my actions and take the initiative, reach out to them. Just part of what I had to continually do to be a better version of myself. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this subject this week, just, about family. family means something different to each one of us, but hopefully it means something important to you, enough to make you want to be the best version of yourself that you can be. Because we do that, we take care of ourselves and show ourselves self-love and self-care, because it helps us flourish as a person, but it helps us to be a better person to be around. Like I always say, we want to be the best version of ourselves for our spouse, for our kids, for our parents, for our relatives, for our schoolmates, for our coworkers. We want to offer people the best that we can of ourselves. So at the top of that list is our family. Because without them, most of us would be lost and alone. So be thankful of your family. Show them how much you love them and what they mean to you by being the best person you can be. What better way to show them than to make changes in yourself? And believe me, they notice. When I had to go through a ton of changes, and especially recently, within the last 5 or 6 years, even though your family members may not say something all the time, they're looking, they're watching, and they're noticing. And it's good and heartwarming when they tell you that they appreciate the effort you're putting into making the changes you need to, or they appreciate and love the effort they see you making. They know it's hard, but you're still doing it, and they appreciate it. And so when you hear things like that, it makes it all worthwhile, the hard work that you put into yourself to become a better person. And so, that it always kind of chokes me up to think about it, because it's, we can't be selfish. It's bigger than us. I always preach self-love and self-care. And just like a post I made on social media today, when I say that, I am not talking about in a selfish manner, but we practice self-love and self-care so that we can be better people, and so that those around us can notice it and they can see us trying. It's hard, especially with whatever we're working on to better ourselves. Some of it can be challenging. Some of it can be hard. A lot of it we're going against traits that we were born with. And so we constantly have to put up a hard fight to change from the person we're trying to get away from being. So, if you're going through that, keep fighting. I hear you. Each day presents its own challenges, but you know what? When you overcome obstacles and you're fighting to be a better person, and you can look back and see how you're changing, take it from me firsthand. It's a good feeling and a good place to be. You're working on yourself. You're working on your future. You're working on your relationship with your loved ones. Great place to be. So keep fighting, keep pushing, to make whatever change you need to become a better version of yourself. And what do we always say? Love is your medicine. Day by day. We don't try to bite off more than we can chew, because when we do that, what happens? Any setback stops your momentum. you may get too hard on yourself. So day by day, you wake up in the morning. If you're a person of faith like me, you pray. Thank God for another day of life. Ask him what you need help with humbly. And you take on that day. And each day, you just try to be a better version of yourself than you were the day before. So, yeah, like I said, if you are fighting to become a better person, physically, mentally, emotionally, keep fighting, keep pushing. I am proud of you. I know firsthand the struggle it is and what it takes to make ourselves better, but it is worth it, isn't it? So I hope you found value in this episode. If you want to reach out to me, you can feel free to email me, mitch@themitchwright.com, or you can look me up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at Love Is Your Medicine Podcast. You can also go to loveisyourmedicinepodcast.com and you can see all the different ways you can listen to me. You can listen to me on Google, Apple, Amazon Prime. You can even listen to it and look at the transcript on YouTube. I'm also on YouTube, Love Is Your Medicine Podcast. So various ways to listen to me. Please share my podcast with your friends or loved ones if you find value in it. I thank you, all my listeners. I am steadily growing each week across the United States and Belgium and Germany, believe it or not. So I am thankful to all of you. I would enjoy hearing from you, feedback or comments about your own life, the challenges you face. We're in this together. So I would love to hear from you. But until next week with episode 10, I can't believe it's going to be 10 episodes already. Next week is the 10th episode anniversary. So until then, take care of yourself day by day. Give yourself the self-love and self-care you need, because if you can't respect yourself and take care of yourself, we can't expect others to love us and respect us the way that we need to be loved and respected. So take care of yourself, take care of each other. Enjoy this week. Go and do great things.